So in my first 3 years as a realtor, I closed over $1 million in commissions, literally by using a dead simple, straightforward cold calling strategy that, number one, most people aren't willing to share. And number two, most agents are actually scared to try. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I created a cold calling schedule that helped me go from literally a broke caddy in 2020 that was carrying golf bags all day for $120 a day to a $30,000 a month real estate top producer just by implementing the cold calling strategy I'm going to show you in this video. And the best part about everything that I'm going to talk about today is that you can literally start implementing it right away as soon as you finish watching this video. And I want to be very, very clear. This is not going to be about working harder. This is going to be about solely focusing on what actually pays you. And the first thing I actually want to talk to you guys about is the actual amount of time you have to dedicate to prospecting in order to have real results. And before I get into that, like every video, maybe you're new to the channel and you've never seen me before, or maybe you've seen some of my previous videos. I try to do my absolute best to bring you guys the real raw truth of what worked for me and how you can implement it in your journey for it to actually work for you. I think there's a lot of videos out there and information around having a perfect cold calling schedule and, the perfect morning routine and cold calling from 7:30 to 10:30 and being the first one on the dialer and role playing for 30 minutes before. And I think that's just a fantasy. I witnessed it firsthand when I walked into my first brokerage. I saw realtors doing these strategies and these perfect cold calling schedules and being suited and booted from head to toe. And I saw it in front of my eyes not working. And people literally saw me being the newest kid on the block with no experience doing things completely backwards, becoming the top producer first. So what I'm going to share with you guys in this video is going to be the truth of what worked for me, what's worked for thousands of my students. And if you're an agent and you're not serious about growing and you want quick dopamine hits and quick videos that are going to get you no results, just click off of this video. I try to make these videos as short and compact as possible, but I want to make them as impactful as possible. So if you want to hang out with me for the next few minutes, could be the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long it takes me to convey this message, I'm going to give you the real raw truth of how to create a bulletproof cold calling schedule. And the first thing I want to mention to you guys in this video is, what is your goal? Like, what are you guys actually trying to accomplish in real estate? For me, I knew that real estate was a vehicle. I knew that I didn't want to be a traditional residential realtor for that long. I didn't think it was going to be coaching. I thought it was going to be like fixer, flipper, investor, raise capital as a realtor, and then move on to my next venture. It ended up being coaching, and I'm so grateful for that. What I need you to understand is that not every perfect morning routine schedule works for you and your goals. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, what is your goal? Do you want to be a realtor long-term, or do you want to leverage everything we have available to us right now with technology, social media, AI, etc., and get results faster? I would assume that most of you watching this video right now want to get results faster. So in order to get results faster, here's my advice for you. Number one, I would spend as much time as you possibly can doing the following three things. And those following three things are: number one, role playing with people that have the results you want. I'll elaborate more on that in a second. Number two, actually prospecting, taking messy action and prospecting before you feel comfortable, prospecting before you're confident, prospecting before you know exactly what to say. I'll elaborate more on that in a second. And number three is actually reviewing your calls, like getting the actual data, the calls that you're making, and sitting down in front of a computer, visually auditing it and auditorily, like listening to it and auditing your phone calls as well. I know there's a big rule out there that says 80% of your time should be dedicated to cold calling. And that's a great rule. I personally think if you're someone like me, my goal in my first year was to make $250,000 in commissions when all I've ever made in a year was 30K. Unrealistic goal equals extraordinary action that you have to take. So my advice for you is, and it might not sound so practical or tactical, is you need to spend as much time as you can actually prospecting. I think, and I might go on a tangent here, but I think it's important. I think a lot of you guys want to be perfect. You guys want to be ready. You want to have your systems dialed in, your CRMs dialed in, your email templates dialed in, your business cards, your for sale signs, your automations, your back end, your contract knowledge. You want to have all these things picture perfect to have your clients go through this amazing experience. But then when it comes time to get clients, you have no effing idea how to get a client. So what I mean by that is, for sure, you have to invest some time into learning how to use the MLS. You have to invest some time into learning how to walk through a contract. You have to invest some time into having somewhat of a system and process for a client experience. But truthfully, what gets us paid in this business is our communication skills. So if you can dedicate as much, I would say 85 to 90% of your time to those three things that I mentioned, role playing with high level people and actually getting down a framework. Number two, actually making the live calls, getting in the real reps, getting hung up on, getting objections that you don't know how to respond to, and then auditing those calls visually and auditorily. That is how you're going to progress faster. So instead of saying you're going to cold call from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., I think it's a much better plan to just cold call as much as you can until you get desired result. If desired result is 10 appointments a week, I'm going to call until I get 10 appointments a week, because most of you guys call from, and the second thing I want to talk about is like your actual timing strategy, and I'll stay on that here in a second. A lot of you guys want to call from 7 to 10, 12 to 2, 5 to 7, and I get it. Some of you guys have part-time jobs and some of you guys have full-time jobs you're trying to transition out of. The answer to your question there is cold call as much as you possibly can until you're out of that situation, then cold call as much as you can in general all day. But here's the thing, right? And I'll kind of soft transition into my second thing. I just want to give you guys a real raw truth. My team sometimes is like, bro, like you got to make these YouTube videos more structured. I want to give you guys a real raw truth. Like if you were sitting in front of me right now and I was telling you the real secrets of what fucking worked for me and how I went from literally a broke person to a top producing realtor. There were a lot of deals in my career. I was hyper focused on for sale by owners. There was a lot of deals that I closed that, for example, I would have this automatic email set up. When a new for sale by owner in the criteria that I was looking for popped up, I'd get an email automatically when it hit the market and I call them right away. When I call them right away, sometimes it'd be 10 a.m., sometimes it'd be 2 p.m., 5 p.m., etc. And sometimes that really, really good prospect, that really, really good lead with a home that had the price and condition and the location that I wanted, they wouldn't answer. And I'd call them back the next day at a completely different time. For example, if I called them at 10 and they didn't answer, I'd call them at 5:30 and sometimes they would answer. And sometimes it turned into an appointment and into a listing and into a $30,000 commission check. But if you only call from 7:30 to 10 a.m. every single day, you will not have those opportunities. So what I need you to understand is if you want to get really good at this and actually see fruits from it, like I said in other videos, it has to be your main focus. You got to do those three things and you can't have a set schedule around it because you'll miss opportunities like that. Cold calling is a lot about timing, especially with for sale by owners and expireds. You'll call somebody at 10:30 a.m. They'll happen to just be in a meeting at work, can't pick up your phone, and you'll say, oh, well, that person didn't answer. Or you're going to try to call them again at 10:30 and maybe they have a fixed meeting at 10:30 in the morning every day. So what I'm trying to say is try to call as much as you possibly humanly can. Once you have the ability to generate a client, if you're in the right brokerage or you are in the right team, you will have an attorney or a team leader or a broker to support you through the contract. You'll have an agent that you can partner up with to help you send properties to the buyer or to the seller if you don't know how to do that. The best entrepreneurs and the best realtors are the ones that are able to take the messiest action. Even as I've progressed in my career, guys, and made more and more and more money, the action that I have to take is even messier. Creating a perfect cold call schedule and expecting that you're going to stick to it 250 days out of the year is so far unrealistic. It's even more unrealistic than saying you're going to make $250,000 in your first year. That's not how we operate, guys. Humans, at least myself and the people that I train, like we have really deep conversations. We operate in seasons. There's seasons where I've woken up at 4 in the morning and done everything I've set out to do to the T in 90-day, 120-day increments. There's seasons where I can barely effing get out of bed, but the second I get out of bed at 10:30 in the morning, I'm hyper productive. You need to listen to yourself. You need to focus on your goals. But the whole point of this video, and this video might be a little bit messy, but I hope you guys are getting the message, is to spend as much of your time as possible before you're in hyper production actually prospecting. Either making an original call, like the first call, following up, role playing, practicing, or reviewing your own calls. And I don't think enough of you guys understand the importance of reviewing your own phone calls. Okay. But back to what I was saying before, I think you guys spend way too much time trying to create a perfect schedule that is exhausting, is unrealistic. And I'm the first person to say be unrealistic, but when it comes to making a schedule, you need to operate in seasons and you need to just operate based on the goals you're trying to hit. And if you're trying to hit a really big income goal, I hate to tell you this, and some of you guys might be like, well, you're not making sense right now because how am I going to go out there and get a client if I don't know how to do a contract, or if I don't know how to send properties on the MLS, or if I don't have the perfect follow-up sequence? It doesn't matter if you have the perfect setup if you don't know how to communicate and find new clients. Okay. The second thing I want to mention, and we might be like at the fourth or fifth thing, but another thing that I wanted to mention is the following. I really try to like keep appointments at the back half of the day, because cold calling is one of those activities where it's difficult to get into a flow state, and statistically proven, obviously you're going to have better conversations once you're in a flow, and it takes a lot, like once you break that flow or that pattern, it takes a long time to get back into that flow and that pattern, because it takes several conversations to get back into it. So what I would do is I had a rule where I would prospect in the morning. Any follow-ups that I had to do would be in the earlier afternoon, and I would try to set all of my appointments after 4:35 p.m., like listing appointments, buyer consultations, etc., showings, try to mitigate showings as much as possible. There were very few times where I made exceptions. Like if it was a really good prospect, this is, if you guys have seen my videos before, I talk about selective prospecting. There were very few times where I'd make an exception and go to a 10 a.m. listing appointment, 11 a.m. listing appointment, 1 o'clock listing appointment, if the prospect was that good and I felt like they were qualified. But the thing is that what you guys don't realize is that you guys don't have control of your calendar. And someone that makes $250,000, all they have is control of their calendar. If you go to a listing appointment that's not qualified at 10:30 in the morning, you break your flow state completely. So cold calling is a lot about consistency, like building up that pipeline for weeks and months on end without stopping, calling every day and getting into a flow. And if you're just going to appointments based on when your prospects want you to go to appointments, you're never going to be in control of your calendar. So I would say that's the second biggest thing, besides dedicating as much time as possible to this. The second biggest thing is controlling your calendar, because the second part of the sales process after the cold call is the actual appointment. You want to try to do as many of those appointments in the afternoon if possible. And by the way, if you guys ever have any questions that you want me to elaborate on, or you want me to connect you with a good team, I have connections all around the country. You guys can message me, follow me on Instagram, DM me. I will respond. I will be responsive. If you guys want all of my free scripts and extended training videos that go even in more depth than this one, on the link below somewhere, there will be a link to a free school community where you guys can get access to that. To wrap up this video, guys, most of the advice you get out there is to, be balanced, have a balanced work life, have a balanced lifestyle, do some trainings on contracts, on terminologies, on your CRM, on this, that, the third, and have all these systems and operations ready to go. But you have to understand, if you have an ordinary goal, that'll work. If you have an extraordinary goal, you need a different strategy. And I'm literally telling you right now that I promise you, every time I brought in a client and I had a transaction for my lender or my attorney, they helped me figure it out. And my team leader and my broker, I was in a really supportive brokerage when I started, they helped me figure it out. But most realtors want to be perfectly ready before they start taking action. And like I said earlier in the video, it is all about taking messy action. And the three things you have to focus on is role playing with people that are a higher level than you. If you want to explore joining my private inner circle, book a call with me directly below and we'll see if it makes sense for you, where you can role play with extremely high level individuals. Number two, it's making the calls, guys. It's not, when I first started real estate, I got the first few scripts, I read through them, I watched a few YouTube videos, and the second day of me being licensed, I was ripping cold calls and recording them. A lot of you guys don't record them and audit them. Oh my God, it's uncomfortable to hear my voice. It's also uncomfortable not to get a check at the end of the month. Okay, so that tip right there, actually auditing your phone calls visually, because the way that you move, your facial expressions alter your tone visually and auditorily. Those are the three things you need to focus 85-90% of your time on. The rest could be admin, trainings, boot camps, etc. Okay, and then the timing. Remember, you can't expect to have results if you call from 7:30 to 10:30 every day. You're going to miss huge opportunities, because some people have a life and somebody has a meeting from 9 to 11 every day, but they're off of work at 5:30 p.m. If you call them at that time and you fluctuate the times that you call, you're going to have success. And if you control your calendar, you're going to have success. Forget about the idea of a perfect calendar. This is about taking messy action. If you guys have any questions about this video, try to give you guys a real raw truth. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I come out with videos every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Let's go.